Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time to watch Spectre of the Gun, the 6th episode of the 3rd season of the series that started it all, Star Trek, the original series. Friends, before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel and it allows me to alert you next time we go live with the original series or any of our sci-fi fare. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to the Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon? Stick with us here on YouTube memberships. You'll get all of our episodes about a day early, plus any bonus episodes we come up with. But my dear friends, all that is then, this is now, and now it's time to watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 6, Spectre of the Gun. Good title. Friends, prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go! Look at that beauty. She is devastatingly beautiful.
On Mark 8 and closing. Steady she goes.
Awesome frame shot.
Range 45,000 kilometers, Captain.
Fascinating.
A lot of framing and depth, but that's a great shot too.
43,000 kilometers and closing.
Playing with the light in here too, making it darker.
38,000 and closing. 35,000 and closing.
Where's Sulu? We have a countdown and everything. That's right in Sulu's wheelhouse. These framed shots with the shadow are really good.
Mark 7.
Aye, aye, sir.
See? I mean, that's some season 1 shit right there. Playing with the light. It looks cool. Is it made out of like crystal or something?
You have encroached on the space of the Melkot.
Melkot?
Vulcan, Captain.
English.
It was Russian, sir. Every word.
No, Captain, it was Swahili.
They all heard something different.
Telepathy.
Unquestionably. Most impressive.
Our orders are very clear. We're to establish contact with the Melkotians at all costs.
Melkotians.
No recorded contacts. If they ever ventured into space, they evidently withdrew immediately.
I didn't like what they saw.
This is Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, representing the United Federation of Planets. We hope that you will understand that our intent is to establish peaceful relations with you.
Okay, so it's a buoy. Okay.
Opinion, Mr. Spock?
I prefer being a welcome guest, Captain.
Yeah.
Standard orbit in 5 minutes.
Is it gonna try to keep up with them?
Mr. Spock? Mr. Chekhov? Let's go find out what it is they're afraid of.
Taking Spock and the backup science officer down. Bold.
5.3. We have transported down to the
Oh, cool looking planet.
Spock. What is this?
Unknown, Captain. Sensor readings gave no indication of fog-like conditions in this area.
I knew it had to happen. It's a fine time for that transporter mechanism to break down.
Impossible, Dr. McCoy.
No, it's not.
Transporter was working perfectly.
Then what are we doing here?
What they want you to see, I bet.
Unlike Mr. Scott's transporter, this unit is not functioning.
Then let's get out of here.
See that subtle support for Scott? Unlike Mr. Scott's transporter. And a dig at McCoy. He's going to tell us about the final frontier. That's an interesting looking alien. I'll reserve judgment until I see it in its entirety. Oh, friends, I love this show. Please be a good one. Please be a good one. I mean, I think it's safe to say it's been a little hit or miss with season 3. I enjoy every episode of Star Trek. I'm ready for a moment, man. I love Star Trek. This show has been absolutely so much unbelievable fun. I talk about it with my friends and they're like, it's hilarious to hear you talk about a show that's like 60 years old, like it just came out. It did for me. I love it. All right, who do we got? Place your bets. Oh no, Lee Cronin. Oh, I knew those shots were good. Vincent McKevity. Lee Cronin's not a good sign though. Vincent McKevity. Oh, thank you.
You are outside. You are disease.
The disease must be destroyed.
They said if they were spacefaring, they didn't stay in space and they went back. I wonder if they brought something with them and they're like terrified. What the hell?
Where are we now, Captain?
It's interesting to have Chekhov deliver that line and keep on the reaction of Jim. Vincent McKevity, everybody. Giving you something to think about with every peek through the lens.
Perhaps the Melkotians have insufficient data about this era.
Or perhaps this is all they require to complete the pattern of our death. Beautiful specimen.
A shame Sulu's not here. He is a fan of old firearms.
These could be as deadly as phasers.
In the midst of what seems so unreal, the harsh reality, this is not a dream.
October 26, 1881, Tombstone, Arizona.
Okay, Corral. My son was younger. We watched the hell out of some westerns.
The violence of your own heritage is to be the pattern for our execution.
October 26th, 1881. But what was it?
Ike!
Like Clanton?
And now they're gonna have to fight after the way they shot off their mouths.
You know us?
The McLowrys and Clantons?
Well, nobody can say Johnny B and doesn't have a sense of humor.
Behan.
Ike Clanton.
Got
Colin
it.
Frank McClary. Billy Claiborne, Billy Clanton.
Claiborne, that was the other one.
Your Earth history, the names were known in the annals of the opening of the western sector of America.
Well, the good news is 2 of you will live. If it follows history.
The Earps, Morgan, Virgil, and Wyatt, who were the town marshals, along with Doc Holliday.
Oh, this is going to be crazy.
On October 26th, they had it out.
Who won?
Not you guys.
And if this is a replay of history,
History cannot be changed.
Well, I mean, yes, but this isn't really history. It's not like you time traveled or anything. Who's that, Wyatt?
Is this a dead man, Doctor?
Very dead, Mr. Spock.
that's one thing we can be sure of here.
Well, I mean, if he was ever alive. Come on, guys. They just brought in a couple humans to shoot.
Oh, Billy. Baby, I knew they couldn't keep you out of town.
Oh, you knew that.
Bill Shatner, not happy about this, everybody. This is a breach of contract.
Taking crazy chances with Morgan Earp in the same room.
Morgan. Oh. Morgan looks deadly.
Kills on sight. Morgan Earp.
Well, he already saw you. It's not like he started taking shots.
Since we have seen that death is the one reality in this situation, I seriously suggest you reseat yourself immediately.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, that would involve you in what was called the fast draw. It initiated unfortunate events.
Come on, Spock. You should be pretty damn good at this.
Absolutely. Half a gallon of scotch.
You know we ain't got nothing but bourbon.
Half a gallon? Jesus.
They've been blowing off all over town how they chased the Clantons out. I guess you'll show them now, won't you?
I don't think we're gonna have any choice.
Hey, Morgan.
Now, we don't want any trouble.
If you don't want any trouble, what are you doing in my town?
Just leave us alone, Mr. Earp. That's all we ask.
You'd like me to draw, wouldn't you? All right. I will.
Oh.
Soon enough.
Oh.
Soon enough.
He's very menacing. The person playing Morgan is very menacing. I like it. Great eye line and contact. Good stuff.
I believe he was actually trying to provoke a dispute with Mr. Chekhov.
No shit.
Sylvia's right. They've been bad-mouthing something fierce all over town.
Who gives a shit?
We shall watch it. And everything. Extremely closely.
Thank you for explaining observation to me. Bill Shatner's not happy, everybody. I mean, that look says it all.
What can I do, Captain? You know we're always supposed to maintain good relations with the natives.
Walter said, my favorite day of work. I can't be sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that Chekhov's character survives and so does Kirk, right? Ike Clanton and Billy Claiborne survive. Everybody else is dead. The McLowrys and Billy Clanton are all killed.
The day of the gunfight at OK Corral. And we're the Clantons.
You are fucked.
You claim you know us.
I ain't making no big claims about it to nobody. Just so happens.
I like this guy.
Who do you think I am?
Ike Clanton, who do you think you are?
Good delivery.
We're not really here, we're from the future. We haven't been born yet.
This guy's good.
Have you ever seen clothes like this before?
Sure.
Where?
On the Clantons. Don't make no difference who I think you are. Your problem is.
Who they think you are. That's right. Great scene. That guy was really good.
But we warned you not to show your ugly face in town again.
Wyatt and Virgil, but who's who? Unless one's Doc.
You've got until 5 tonight to get your horse-stealing, scurvy crew out of town. All the way.
Okay.
Glad to. We don't want to fight.
I always said you was yellow.
Well, I mean...
My name is not Clanton, it's Kirk.
Oh, yeah. We heard the talk about your jokes.
I'm not joking.
News travels fast.
To meet you, Mr. Kirk.
Oh! Oh, Jesus.
No, Wyatt. Let me.
The Shadow and the Light. Vincent McEvity.
If you're in town at 5:01, we'll kill every one of you, whether you draw or not.
That's called murder. They got some menacing guys to play the Earps. I mean, straight up. I mean, now again, this is 60s in Hollywood, so I mean, you could walk outside and throw a stone and hit like 8 or 9 cowboys to play.
Take it easy, Mr. Scott. I hate to think what that stuff's doing to your stomach lining.
I won't think about it.
Need fast reflexes from now on. There's no negotiating with the Earps, we know that.
If we only had a phaser.
You still have to draw.
Could we make it communicated?
Impossible, Captain. In this century, there are no metal alloys or power sources to make devices such as ours.
Yeah, they use tubes and stuff in City on the Edge of Forever, right? I know that wasn't a communicator, but...
A lot of people and things have tried to kill me. You'd be surprised.
Well...
Billy? Please, don't even go near it.
I just noticed Chekhov's got a twin gun rig. I don't think anybody else has... Yeah, they all have a single rig.
Where are we going, Captain?
To exercise the better part of valor.
We're getting the hell out of here. I like how there's a sign. Tombstone city limits, everybody, in case you're... Oh, yep. Just be anywhere other than the OK Corral at 5. Like, get into the bar and put some tables around. And we got 2 hours.
Mr. Chekhov, if you were in charge of the Enterprise, what would you be doing?
Sensor sweep.
I'd be using the ship's sensors, trying to locate us.
Very good.
I'm learning.
Might lock in and beam us up.
Well, let's get there.
There's no way we can know where it is, Doctor.
And you were in the fog when you got down here.
On humanoids and trying to find a way out of here, and quit explaining why we can't get out of here.
Arguing's my... you're stepping on my toes. I'm the curmudgeon here.
Is there anything that exists here and now that could help us out of this trap?
Whiskey, Molotov cocktails?
The venom, the plants. Can you make use of that?
A tranquilizer. Of course, Jim, I can make a tranquilizer.
I could make a device to deliver it on target.
Like a blowgun?
I shall manufacture the equivalent of an ancient generating canister, more familiarly known as a gas grenade.
And one of the many differences between Spock and I, blowgun? No, a gas grenade.
Well, thank you. Mind if I look around a bit?
Is this going to be Doc Holliday? Yeah, it's going to be Doc Holliday.
I wouldn't touch that stuff if I was you.
He keeps looking at the guy in the chair. And it's I mean, Doc was a dentist, so yeah, okay.
That stuff ain't mine. It belongs to him. You'd better ask him.
Yep.
I'm a doctor.
That joke is all around town already, McLowry. Well, my name is still Holiday.
There we go.
Go on, take the stuff. Have some more fun.
He's setting you up.
Because at 1 minute past 5, you'll find a hole in your head right from this gun.
Well, first off, there will not be a hole in your head. You will no longer have a head. That is a double-barreled sawed-off shotgun, and it's like a street howitzer. I kind of like the facade fronts. It adds to like the kind of like a surreal quality. The sky's doing the same thing too.
Billy Claiborne, do you know how crazy I am about you?
That's very nice.
Best day at work ever.
With the dance only 1 week away? Or have you forgotten that already?
Been a bit preoccupied with living.
Found this most scrumptious material. Yards and yards of it.
It's a cool dynamic between these two.
Why don't we just turn that dance into a wedding ball? It would be so heavenly.
It costs you nothing to say yes here.
I'm afraid that wouldn't be possible.
Even in this setting, commitment is like a tear gas. I really like how they, oh Jesus. I really like how they like idolize the,
Stay away.
make the, Jesus. The herbs are evil, I love it.
You don't have to take anything from that scum, not while I'm here.
I think the guy who plays Morgan's the most menacing.
Mr. Earp,
He's gonna kill you, kid.
get your hands off her.
You get those guns out, bro. This is literally middle of the street. Oh shit. Dude, he's gonna draw. What the hell?
There's nothing I can do, Jim.
I mean, we know he's not gone, but holy shit. It's like Westworld, kind of, right?
Come on, Clanton. Let's do it now.
Dude, you are lucky they didn't all three shoot you for that move.
Captain, let me.
Or that one.
Come on, Captain.
Slow all this shit down.
They're trying to push us into something we're not ready for.
And it is not yet our time.
Yeah, you got to stick with it, your plan. These guys look cool as shit, man. They are so, like, villainous looking.
Gentlemen, there is one thing which requires the immediate attention of all of us.
Survival.
It takes us a little longer.
Don't short roll Spock here.
My feelings are not subject for discussion, Doctor.
Because there are no feelings to discuss.
No, he feels it all.
Bones, Scotty.
Captain, it's quite all right. They forget I am half human.
I forget that too. When I started this, I always thought Spock just didn't have feelings. Nope, he's got them. He just represses them. It's a whole different understanding for me for the character of Spock. Honest to God, since I started, completely different outlook on Spock. Love the character so much.
Historical account of the famous battle in which we are about to engage, but I am confused.
About what?
Billy lived.
But did not William Claiborne survive the battle at the OK Corral?
Thank you, years of watching Westerns.
Yes, that's right. It means it doesn't have to happen the way it happened.
Or they're going to kill you all.
Bones, how's the tranquilizer coming?
I'll have it ready before Spock.
Spock?
It's not a race.
It should.
Make sure it does, Spock.
It should.
History has been changed, and the fact...
I'd fight him from right behind that bar.
There is one other place I can try.
Doc Holliday? Hey, it's not going to work. Oh, Behan. I totally forgot Behan was in this.
You and your boys set up this whole thing to take care of the Earps. It's a little late to decide you don't have the belly for it.
It's not too late. Sheriff.
Ooh.
There must be plenty of decent people in this town who don't like the Earps. Let's organize them.
Don't talk nonsense.
Guy's blue eyes, man.
It's the only way. I can't just kill him. It's the only way. I can't murder him. I can't kill him. Kill him any way you can. There'll be no questions asked. Honest. I guarantee that.
Wow, good scene. Boy, they're hitting it out of the park with the guest stars in this episode. This is the best season 3 guest stars, bar none. These are great.
I doubt that this combination of things was ever used for any purpose quite like this.
Perhaps they would have been if they'd had your ingenuity, Doctor.
That's a compliment. Plum. Say thank you.
How long will it take the tranquilizer to have effect?
3 or 4 seconds.
How did you manage to test it?
We did not.
It has not been tested.
Would a volunteer solve the problem?
Yeah, but we'll have to redo the whole fucking thing.
On one condition, that I'm wide awake and with you at 5 o'clock.
We can't guarantee anything. What if he's knocked out for an hour? I mean, that's...
It's to kill the pain.
But this is painless.
Well, you should have warned me sooner, Mr. Spock. Fire away.
Scotty's the best. Scotty's drinking scene is one of my all-time favorite moments. And well, Spock, you might want to step back a bit. Everybody might want to step back. Isn't this thing supposed to be like an area effect thing? That's way longer than 3 or 4 seconds. He's going back in for more.
You still feel all right?
Never felt better.
Dizziness, no sweating, no palpitations?
Doesn't work.
A scientific fact. But if the tranquilizer does not function...
I keep going back to the telepathy thing. I wonder if this is like a Telosian type of thing, where you're just seeing certain things and not...
The clock.
10 minutes.
Again, Scotty was going to be up and at him in 10 minutes.
We're going to wait right here until well after 5 o'clock. We're not going to move from this spot.
Oh, shit. So much for my bar plan. Hair and makeup. Mr. Shatner needs you.
Let's get out of here.
I'm enjoying the hell out of this episode. Oh my God, now they can't even leave the OK Corral. I mean, get ready to fight. Get those guns out and in hand.
If they want to fight, let's give them a fight.
They're experts at gun fighting. We don't have a chance.
Everybody shoot at one of them first.
In your opinion, what killed Mr. Chekhov?
A piece of lead in his body.
Wrong. His mind killed him.
There was no wound, yeah. I thought they were just being like censor.
Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. All of this is unreal. We judged the bullets to be solid, the guns to be real. Therefore,
You expect it.
The bullets would kill him.
he may indeed be dead. We do not know.
God, Spock is so good.
I know the bullets are unreal. Therefore, they cannot harm me.
Well, then you get out front.
As you are, Mr. Spock, if we're to save our lives.
Precisely.
That's not possible.
I argue everything. This is Bones' greatest test.
Spock.
The Vulcan mind meld.
Very well, sir. Engineer.
Engineer. I always like how he calls Scotty engineer. I mean, to be fair, doctor and captain are also widely used, but... Great shot.
Your mind to my mind.
Vincent McCavity loves to incorporate the mind meld. Let's see if he gets a... There we go! My man. These guys are killers, man. I can't agree. Impossible for Plum.
Pass through your body, for they do not exist.
So, it's such a tight shot. I love it. Picking up Doc.
They are lies.
They turned and the camera stayed stationary. That was a cool move. Shatner turned his head as opposed to the camera panning. That was interesting. I like that. Cool shot. McCavity getting low on that one. No. Love it. Guys. You gonna try your other gun? Yeah, let's settle this with our fists. Or our feet! Missile drop kick. Oh, now you're playing Jim's game now. No poker? How about some bare knuckle fighting? Ooh. Yeah, Jim can't do that. Jim's never gonna do that. That's a good look of fear from Wyatt. Oh, it's cool.
Captain, the Melkoshian object.
The buoy?
The object is beginning to emit M rays of a highly unstable nature, Captain.
M? Did he say M rays? Like Mary? Is it gonna shoot or blow up? Was that its job? To give like a test?
Captain Kirk, you did not kill. Is this the way of your kind?
It is.
Now.
Approach our planet and be welcome.
Nice.
Mr. Chekhov, resume original course, warp factor 2.
Warp factor 2, sir.
Man, I missed the crosstalk. I mean, you heard a little bit of it there with Uhura, but...
This afternoon, you wanted...
Why didn't you kill him?
To kill, didn't you?
But he didn't kill Mr. Spock.
He's asking if he wanted to.
Mr. Spock, you're absolutely right. That's exactly the way it was.
I like that.
I wonder how humanity managed to survive.
Evolution.
We overcame our instinct for violence.
What a great future. Promise of peace. Spock's like, ah! I really like that episode. I really like that episode. All right, everybody, we just got done watching the third season's 6th episode of Star Trek The Original Series, Spectre of the Gun, and the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching Season 3, Episode 6, Spectre of the Gun of Star Trek The Original Series. I really like this one. This is one of my definite favorites of Season 3. Again, I see it's a formulaic kind of, revisiting. We've had Nazi world and Mafia world and Roman world and all the other worlds that we've had that have kind of been, just mirrors and stuff of past like human civilization. But I really enjoyed this one for a couple of different qualities that it brought to it. One, it's Vincent McCavity, so I am never... I am never going to not like a Vincent McCavity episode. I wish I was thinking about this before I clicked and started this, and I was debating whether or not I should say it. I almost, like, tip of my tongue when I saw these original shots, like the framing, and I was talking about the framing and like, oh, this is a split book. I almost said this looks like a Vincent McCavity shot sequence. And I thought, damn it, I would have been so cool for me to say that, to been able to like get it, like before it happened. But I didn't. I thought about it. I'm like, I don't want to be wrong. And so from now on, I am going to just leap of faith type of stuff. And I'll never be right. That was my one chance. No, but I digress. Vincent McCavity is awesome. I'm a bit concerned because Lee Cronin, we learned in a prior Q&A, Lee Cronin is Gene Coon's pseudonym that he used whenever he didn't want his own name associated with the project. I'm not sure why he would have done that, because if he wrote this episode, I thought it was a very strong episode for multiple reasons. We got to see a lot of like inter-character dynamic between, characters that we see them all the time, but again, this was a different type of setting and situation. We had a lot of philosophical questions that came up as to, exactly what they were experiencing and the whole like belief in the bullets type of thing. So it was really interesting. It was almost like a matter of faith type of episode, and I really enjoyed that. Scotty is usually around, a lot of times for comic relief, and he had some comic relief in this one too. But he also had he was a very almost more so than Bones in this episode a little bit. He was the more kind of like the emotional side of the group. We've got to kill. He was very pissed whenever. I mean, understandably so. When they thought Chekhov had been killed, we can't. What they just did to Chekhov, we got to go. We got to draw on these guys. Really liked the way that broke down. I liked his volunteering and taking the shot. Really cool little moments like this. And that's what kind of confuses me, because the script was kind of filled with these little kind of set aside moments where we really got a lot of individual, like Chekhov was huge in this episode, and I mean, just for that reason alone, I think that, Gene Coon should have been proud of this episode. I thought it was really well done with those dynamics. You know, again, you could say well, this was a way for them to cut corners and cut costs, and absolutely, yeah, there's absolutely no arguing that, because especially with the prevalent nature of Western productions during that time, I mean, this probably was the easiest to at least to dress. I'm dressing that studio set would have been a real pain in the ass. Um, because those are all fake front facades that you have to bring in and prop, and then you got to set the entire studio. I mean, that would have been, I think, what really sucks about this. The one thing I disliked about this episode is something that nobody could control. Vincent McKevity has proven, like with Miri, that he is just absolutely phenomenal when it comes to the exterior shooting. Because I always think, you know, the thing that made me fall in love with Vincent McKevity was when he had that little hand reach up inside Miri and, you know, clean the window and had that clean spot. And through the interior, through the framing of the window, through the framing of the spot, the clean spot, we had Spock walking toward the building in perfect frame. I was like, oh, holy shit. I'll never not, that shot was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And McKevity is just, he's that, you know, he's always going to bring that type of experience to everything. He's going to really kind of immerse you in the moment with that stuff. And I really think that if they had been allowed to go outside, had the money, basically allowed, they were allowed to, they just didn't have the money to go outside. There are plenty of like completely dressed, completely ready Western sets in that time in Hollywood. They could have walked out and really done it up. You know what I mean? And I mean, again, I like I said during the episode, I did like the surreal quality that like the half buildings and the facades provided, especially with like the red sky and everything. So, you know, you were in the moment, but you're also very, very aware that this was alien, that this was not like, again, this was not Tombstone of 1881. You know, so it played in a number of different ways, and I like that. But boy, I would have loved to have seen McKevity be able to be outside. The other thing I like too is, you know, we from Dagger of the Mind, we had that very intimate shot between whenever we were, you know, Van Gelder and Spock, whenever that was the original mind meld, that kind of pan that went around, and boy, he loves playing with that. He loves like those intimate, really tight shots of like of Spock delivering the mind meld and the mind meld itself. It really, in my mind, it almost adds like a tension or almost like a feeling of like not loathing, but like fear a little bit. Like, what is this? There's like almost like a mysticism surrounding it, you know, like it's maybe something we shouldn't be watching, you know, it's that personal and that intimate. Really good stuff when it comes down to that. The other thing that I liked a whole bunch too, and I think I mentioned it, I did in the reaction, is whenever, you know, normally with the Van Gelder mind meld, the camera moved around and kept that real tight look as they were, you know, focusing on the eyes and everything like that. But in this one, I don't know if it was just a product of, you know, camera placement or ease, basically. But instead of moving the camera around to capture Kirk in more of a profile, Shatner moved his head towards the camera to capture the same effect. And they brought Spock out of frame for that one because Spock couldn't have moved to keep like, you know, the spatial awareness correct in that. So it was a really, really well done shot in that, you know, it made it easier for McKevity to do it, but at the same time, it was sweet as shit. You know, that's, to me, that's like Robert Rodriguez, who did El Mariachi and Desperado and a couple of movies like that. You know, he had a book that came out, I'm pretty sure it was called like Rebel Without a Budget, Rebel Without a Crew was his book. And it was about basically like guerrilla filmmaking, you know, how to film with no budget, you know. And those are the little things I really love, where it's like, that's how you cut corners. That you think outside of the box, but you make it look how it would with a more complicated setup or, you know, a more expensive shoot or whatever. And you make it work with the same effect just by using the old noodle, you know. Really, really great stuff. Speaking about using the old noodle, and this is a tangent that I'll get into just real quick. You know, the whole thing about like kind of like disbelieving the bullets made me immediately think about my very first Dungeons and Dragons party that I had in high school. And long story short, you know, we played for years and years and years. And this was in the 80s, back when, you know, D&D was relatively new at the time and had just kind of reached the college campuses. You know, we were at the very beginning of the Satanic Panic type of stuff. And the colleges in my hometown, one of the colleges had a contest. You show up with your D&D adventuring party, and members of their D&D club would act as dungeon masters, running everybody, all the groups that came through the same module. And so in doing that, you're basically to see who could get through first, who could, solve all the puzzles, that type of stuff. And so my group was the very first one done. Now, we came in second because we missed solving like 2 or 3 puzzles. I can't remember exactly what it was, but here's why. We reached a room very early on in the, I think we had one encounter, and then we had a puzzle, and then we reached a room that was underground with a huge river of lava, and there was no way across it. Spells didn't work, nothing worked, and so we had to figure out a way across it. Well, my one buddy, who was the brother of our dungeon master, he had a habit of, how people in D&D would spam like, perception check, or I insight check this person to see if they're lying. They just spam that ability. My boy, he spammed, I don't believe this. I disbelieve this. And to the point where our dungeon master had to stop putting illusory stuff into the game. And in the original modules, like with second edition, there were a ton of elements that were based on illusion. So my buddy just started disbelieving everything. He walks into the river of lava, and within 30 seconds of having it explained to us, he says, I disbelieve, I don't think this is lava. And he steps into it. And so the guy that was our dungeon master was like, what? Huh? And then, of course, the roll was made, and there was no lava, and it was all an illusion. And so we walked through and completed it like 2 hours before everybody else. But in doing so, we bypassed a bunch of the puzzles, so we came in second. Anywho, that's my tangent of basically saying, as soon as Spock was like, the bullets aren't real, they can't hurt us if we don't believe in them, I'm like, somewhere my buddy's going, and that's how you do it. All right, my friends, but now is the time for questions and hopefully some answers, as we're not sure exactly why Lee Cronin was used instead of Gene Coon. We're not sure exactly if there was talks of having an external shoot and that was shot down for budgetary reasons. We need answers, friends, and there's only one person that can give them to us. General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane. Retired. Friends, this is where, having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras. Things that if I had looked up before would have ruined the reaction for me. But to keep myself on the straight and narrow and make sure I don't wander off into the weeds for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 categories to explore. The first of which, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars for the episode. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth category, and spiciest of them all, the production notes, what went on behind the camera. And the fifth and final category, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's move on. All right, everybody, and for our first category, writer and director, who were they? Well, the writer for this episode is credited as Lee Cronin, but we all know that that is a pseudonym for Gene Coon. So why was Lee Cronin used and not Gene Coon? And who was our director for this episode? I don't know. Who was it? None other than my very favorite, Vincent McKevity. Oh, I'd love to see him back. I think, however, though, this is his last appearance in Star Trek, the original series, as a director. Very bittersweet, but an incredible director who I love quite a bit and hope to see again in any property. If I ever see that name associated with anything, I'm watching it. Friends, let's move on. All right, friends, and for our second category, guest stars. We had a ton of them, friends, and I wanted to mention all of them because I think that each and every one of them really added to the overall experience of the episode and really contributed positively. We seldom have this many guest stars, one, and two, where everybody really enhances every scene that they're in. So I wanted to give credit to each and every one. The first was Bonnie Beecher as Sylvia. Great work with Walter's Chekhov. Really, really great stuff. We had our Earps, as Ron Sobel was Wyatt Earp, Rex Holman was Morgan Earp, and Charles Maxwell was Virgil Earp. Incredibly menacing, added to the tension, that unblinking gaze every time that they encountered one of our crew, really terrorizing them, really terrifying, really, just as an audience member. Great stuff, did their jobs expertly, really, really well done. And then we had a lot of other people that popped in and had really great, like kind of like one-on-one scenes with everybody. The first of which was Sam Gilman as Doc Holliday whenever he went like toe-to-toe in that episode, or in that scene with DeForest Kelly's Doc McCoy. Really good stuff in that one. We had Charles Seal as Ed the bartender, a great scene with Bill Shatner. And we had Bill Zeckert as Sheriff Behan, who had another great scene with Bill Shatner. I think that where we're giving credit to the guest stars, we have to give credit to the principals too. A lot of great acting across the board in this episode. Really good stuff. Let's move on. All right, everybody, and now for our third category of our core cast, or the Big Eight, who was present. Well, first, the core cast consists of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, Chekhov, and Nurse Chapel. In this episode, we had 6 of the Big Eight, but we did not have a Sulu, and we did not have a Nurse Chapel. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth and spiciest category of all, the production notes, what went on behind the cameras of this episode of the original series. Let's get started. A lot of cool production notes in this one that really kind of lend themselves well to just the appreciation of the episode. The first of which is the opening credits. This one was about 10 seconds shorter than the cold open in I, Mud, which is the longest in the original series. So this clocks in as the second longest cold open before the credits in any episode of the original series, save I, Mud, which I think is an interesting way to set the tone. Whenever they do this, whenever they really give it a lot of time to like cook before we go into the credits, I think it indicates what type of episode we're going to have, and I think that this one was a really good way to do that. Let's move on. And for our second production note, as we mentioned during the reaction, there was a very surreal quality to having like the partial buildings and things kind of hung up and kind of, missing walls and everything kind of, being very surreal. Well, this was the first and only attempt by the original series into surrealism, where we had like these bits and pieces where your mind is kind of expected to fill in the rest of the area. I thought it was a really interesting way to go about it. I thought Vincent McKevity did a really good job of kind of figuring on interesting ways to shoot this by making it both familiar and alien at the same time. And I think the surreal aspects of it really augmented that, where you had these bits of reality, the bits of realism, and then the fantastical, or, really good job. And I think it complemented the director, and the director complemented it very, very well. Let's move on. And now for our third production note, and this is always something that I have to mention each and every time that I see it, because James Doohan is our Scotty is an incredibly accomplished voice actor who was able to really change his voice up for basically anything that was asked of him. And I thought it was very interesting that in this, the Melkoshian buoy was voiced by none other than Scotty, and I never would have picked it out. The guy can really camouflage himself. Let's move on. And now for our fourth production note, and this is something, again, we speculated on during the reaction, or in the thought section, I believe, is where it actually popped up, is, there were so many Westerns going on, so many Western properties, projects, movies, TV shows at this time, that, the ability to kind of get Western actors or Western dress or Western sets was easier, in all likelihood, than getting some of these other more, niche type of stuff that would come through. But with this one in particular, several of the actors of this episode, including DeForest Kelly, obviously our Plum, and Charles Seal, who was Ed the bartender, had extensive work in Westerns. I mean, they were in quite a bit, but I thought this was very interesting for specifically Plum. Kelly previously played Ike Clanton in a 1955 episode of You Are There, and Morgan Earp in the 1957 film Gunfight at the OK Corral. So he had some experience with this very specific time period. Nice. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fifth and final category, a memorable quote from this episode. So I really like the exchange at the very end of this between both Spock and Kirk, where Spock says, "I wonder how humanity managed to survive." And Kirk says, "We overcame our instinct for violence." The reason why I wanted to put that one in there is I really think that it is indicative of the vision that Gene Roddenberry had for the future, where at some point humanity was able to push past these kind of very visceral, very instinctual, ideas of murder and war and, money and things like that, to really advance the human race. And I think that quote really kind of sums that up, at least a portion of it. Friends, Thus ends another installment of Q&A, until such time as you and I get to play aboard the Enterprise again with our dear Jim Kirk. Behave yourselves.